Hey, Vanessa.
Hello.
So I've never done this before. I was a bit confused how to join a live.
Huh?
How's it going? Oh, I can't
Hold
see.
on, I'm just putting the volume up a bit. This is so funny to see you guys. Do you know what? I was
Wait, I
even
can't see you
thinking.
at all, Vanessa.
Huh?
I can't see you at all.
Are you joking?
Yeah, no. Should I rejoin?
Yeah.
1 second.
Yola, can you see me? Can everyone else see me? Okay, brilliant. So I'm just gonna accept their request again. Can you guys see me now?
Hold on, it's just loaded. Oh, it keeps going black.
Apparently,
It's gone black. Why?
I think it might be a technical issue from your side.
Really? Oh, you're not
Yeah.
connected.
You guys can just hear me, but you can't see me, right? Hi, Susu. Can you see me now?
Well, no. It's got a loading sound. Let's wait to see. It should...
Okay. Can you hear me? You can hear me properly though, right?
Yeah, yes. We're just going to have to talk to blank screen.
Well, what matters is that I can see you and I can see you really well.
Can everyone else see us? I don't know.
Yeah. Can everyone see both myself and Sasha and Socha? I think Yola had already said yes. Suratya, can you see the girls as well? Or just me? Just wait. Make sure. I think it's yeah. Okay, so I think we can see all of you, both of you, and me, and then hopefully you guys will gain some
Give me a
visuals soon.
second. We're gonna switch phones because I don't want my phone. I'm gonna
all right.
Go Socha's phone. 1 second. We'll be back.
All right, go ahead. Right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited for this live. Hi, Tia. Hi, everyone. Feel free to share this with anyone whilst we wait for Sasha and Socha to join. If you feel anyone else would love to join this live today and just join this topic and hear us talk. All right, here they are again. So I'm just going to accept their request.
Oh, that's working now. That's working.
Okay. Yay!
Got it in the end.
Right, awesome. So you can see me now.
Yes.
Let's get excited and see each other. Awesome. Well, look, first of all, thank you so much, guys, for joining me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation. But I'm so excited for this live because, as you guys know, I am super proud of you. Super proud of you. And you're welcome. I know it hasn't been an easy journey. It hasn't been a straightforward journey.
Yeah.
But we decided to I think, have this live because we did some research. We did a survey. Hi, Tia. And we figured out that what women need in today's day and age, it's not that they're lacking motivation or inspiration, but that what they would like to see is a top up and to have sort of real life stories and examples of like what the rest of us are going through and what we have been going through. And as a young woman myself, I think it's so important for us to be able to talk about our successes and our hardships to help everyone else understand the importance of staying motivated even through the struggles, but celebrating the successes as well. So the topic of our live today is about how you guys obviously survived as rentpreneurs through the pandemic. I would, however, like for us to take it all the way back. And I would like you guys to start off by introducing yourselves, telling us a bit more about who you guys are, what you do, how you started doing what you're doing. And I'm just going to keep asking you questions. We'll go back and forth, and then I'll leave some space at the end for for everyone else to ask some questions too. But does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll just follow your lead. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good. Are you able to move back a bit so I can see your faces?
Not
Yes, perfect, yeah. You're both so beautiful. I can't see half your faces.
I can't, because the chat is where our faces are. I can't really see it myself, to be fair. But yeah, can you see it
Try to
now?
move, you can pull the chat down.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah?
Oh, that's better.
Perfect.
Right, okay, so where did we start? So I'm Sasha.
There we go.
I'm Socha. And for those who don't know, we're actually Vanessa's cousins. Because you're saying hi to and we're laughing. People thinking, what are they talking about? Yeah, we're cousins. And yeah, so we are 29 years old. We started our journey in the property industry at 21. Yeah. So we probably started our training and like learning about it at 20, and then we just got stuck in at 21. We opened our business and then got our first rent to rents. For those who don't know what a rent to rent is, it's a property investment business strategy where you rent a property out from a landlord and then you sublet it, but legally, out to an end user. So we started our journey there, and we started in the rent to HMO sector. So HMO is house of multiple occupancies, and where we rented the rooms out to individual sharers. And then fast forward, so 21, 2-3 years? Yeah, 2-3 years in. 2-3 years, to go back. 2-3 years in, we decided to change our model a little bit. So we moved away from the rent to rent HMO into the rent to rent service accommodation model. And that model slightly different, same thing, you're subletting from a landlord, but our end user was business travellers and holiday makers, so like short stays. So that's what we went into, and then up until today, that's what we've stuck by, and that's a strategy that we've been successful in.
Awesome. So I am going to just take it back a little bit, because I think this is a really key part to your journey that maybe not many people know about, but that I find very intriguing, and I think a very good topic for us to just go into a bit more detail on. So obviously you were both enrolled into university prior to doing what you guys are doing. Could you tell us a bit more about that, and talk to us about why it is that you went into university in the first place, what it is that you decided to study, and then why you eventually decided to stop what you were studying and then go into this area as well?
Yeah, so we went into university. We studied law at university. We went up until the 3rd year, and obviously the reason we went into university because that was sort of the next step in our educational life path, if that makes sense. And it's something, coming from an African household, is something that you're encouraged to do, regardless of if that's what you want to do or not. But we always wanted to follow the law career. But our ultimate end goal was to get into property. It just wasn't the way we fell into it. Our goal was to do it through getting to university, get a good job, buy a property, and then remortgage, and then buy another one. That was our plan. So then what happened in our 3rd year of university is that our first semester in the 3rd year is that we went in to submit all our assessment assignments, and we were suspended because student finance had paid one of my year and one of Sasha's years, and they missed out one of our year, both a year each, if that makes sense. So they count us as one person. And so they suspended us, and it took 9 months for that to be sorted out. Now, that was December when we found out. January, we were already in the property course. January, we were like, right. Yeah, we were like, this is it. We don't really want to do this. Because with the law degree as well, a lot of students were out getting training contracts, which you're encouraged to do during your law degree, and we just didn't have the inspiration to do that. That wasn't what we wanted to do. Like the drive, yeah. And you see what they go through, like the knockbacks, and of of course it's good if you know, if you can push through it, but I don't think I had that much passion in me to go to training contracts, work for free and just work there, because people are working for free from doing full-time placements for free. We weren't really that motivated to do that, if that makes sense. So when we got suspended, and by the way, we got suspended because Student Finance flagged it as fraud, because they thought that we was the one person.
Wow.
That's why we got suspended, which is crazy, because you think they'll know about twins, but anyways.
You know what?
So, oh, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, I've always said that I believe everything happens for a reason.
100%.
And, you know, I've always believed in you guys, no matter what you were doing in your lives, whether it was when you were young and you were into your gymnastics, you know, then you decided to go and do law. And I do feel like, had this not happened in your journey, you may not have been where you are today. So
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think it had to happen. It definitely had to happen. And even the way at the time, we had no money. So what happened was, December came, after Christmas, we were looking for property courses, and we're literally online looking for property courses, and we found one for February, and it was £500 each for the rent-to-rent strategy. And we were like, oh my day, so only one of us will go, because that's too much. So
you had no money, right?
Yeah, because we didn't have, I mean, we asked my mum to borrow money. So my mum was actually going to borrow us money to go on this course. So then what happened was, literally, as we're searching that same night, I found a free course for the next day. I couldn't believe it. So we contacted the host of the course, and he was like, sorry, the course is fully booked, and we begged him. He was like, fine, I can squeeze in two of you. And it was honestly the most life-changing thing, like experience of our lives. Literally life-changing. The course was a 3-day course, so intensive. And yeah, it honestly just changed our lives. And everything just happened in a way that it was meant to be, if that makes sense. It was crazy how it all happened. But yeah, and then from there, we started our property journey.
And can you tell me a bit more about the course then? So what course were you guys originally going to take, if you remember that far back, the one that you said that was going to cost 500 each? And then, you know, what course did you guys actually end up taking that was for free, but that you only managed to do because you begged for them to allow you to join, which is, you know, fantastic. It just goes to show.
They were both rent-to-rent courses, but with just two different two different trainers, investors. The one that was £500, from what I can remember, there was probably stages to it. You pay £500, you learn this much, and then they'll sell you an extra bit, and then you've got to go into their mastermind and pay like £5,000. So it's that type of course. But we were really lucky, because the course that we found for free, it was actually this guy who just wanted to give back, and the strategy really changed his life, and he wanted to give back, and his first few courses were free, but it was all the content. It wasn't dribs and jabs, it was everything, literally everything. And then his mentorship was only like £1,000 for 6 months, so that was affordable. Then we went through that route. But yeah, so it was both rent-to-rent courses. We were just lucky to find that course, which probably you won't ever find that. Well, it's very rare you'll find an opportunity like that. You'll get a course for free that gives you everything. You do usually have to pay your way through it. So we were quite lucky to find that.
And you know, again, one other thing that I believe in is like the energies and like the universe, and I feel like it just goes to show you guys weren't really interested in going to do like a free, like, you know, internship or free training role to get experience working in the law area. But when it came to the property side, because that was always your ultimate goal, you know, when it came to begging for something, you guys were all over begging for it. So it just goes to show, like, what you really put your energies into, you really get a lot out of as well. So, you know, you guys are such a good example of that. And if you think back to your decision in the beginning, do you feel like the fact that you didn't have any money to start with is what influenced you guys to go into the rent-to-rent as opposed to, like, you know, buying? Because that was obviously what you had in your mind originally when you decided to go to university. You thought you'd get a job, save some money, etc. And what are your thoughts now? You know, would you still, I guess, have gone down this route if someone gave you money in the beginning, or do you think you would have gone back and actually gone and bought a property first? Because I feel like you guys have learned so much, because this isn't such a common route.
I like the rent-to-rent strategy, and I think it's something that I always push. The rent-to-rent strategy for us, especially down the service accommodation route, and even some of our HMOs actually, were some properties were cash flowing us over £1,000 a month. Some 1,500, some 2,000, some of our service apartments 2,000. That's what landlords make on their properties. Yeah. And it's like, we're only putting down 5 to 10 grand on the initial startup of the property, sometimes less. And the landlord's putting down, you know, a 15% deposit on the property. So it's like, we have a higher return, if that makes sense, with the rent-to-rent strategy. So yeah. I will always encourage the rent-to-rent strategy, just because, like, even now, even being in a position that I could buy, I don't think that's where I want to put my money in right now. If I'm just buying to hold, I'd rather, do you know what I mean? I'd rather spread it against different avenues. If that spread your money and then the cash flow, because it depends what you value. To be fair, some people are big on, you know, putting their money down and just valuing asset and just growth basically. But for us, cash flow is our bread and butter, and it's what we value. We take that cash and then put it into something else. So I would always, I'm so glad we found that strategy, and always encourage it as well. And you know what? It's not just about property investment. We actually learn what it takes to run and build a business. So we can fit ourselves into another business, and our mind works to run a business. Whereas if you just own a property, you're not necessarily running a business. You'll give it to letting agents, they'll let it for you. Or even if you let it yourself, there's not really much involved. So I feel like for us at such a young age, learning how to run a business and going through the you know, all the trials and tribulations just to get past it was definitely valuable. Yeah.
So touching on this topic of trials and tribulations, you know, you guys haven't just gotten into the rent, but you know, you guys have been part of cleaning the places that you rent out, doing them up. You guys have literally been like getting your hands dirty and doing everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've really learned from a very young age now how to run your own business. Can you give us some examples of some of these like challenges that you guys have faced over the last couple of years? And like, you know, give us some insight into how you guys overcame those challenges.
Go on, Socha. I think one of our biggest challenge was cash flow management and debt management. So I think that's been our biggest challenge. Obviously something that we've learned, but throughout the time going in as a novice, not knowing anything about it, we burnt ourselves just sort of not having any control over the money that's coming in, if that makes sense, not controlling it properly at the beginning. And when it was quite a lot of money coming in as well, it's easy to sort of overspend or to
get excited,
you know,
right?
Get excited, yeah. And when I say that, I don't mean on myself. I just mean like, let's get another deal. Yeah, money into another deal. We grew very fast. Yeah, too fast. Yeah. I think we grew too fast, and that burnt us. So I think, and also not just that, we try to adopt other strategies as well, as opposed to sort of mastering one and then sort of moving on to another one. And I think that's what those two things were our biggest hurdles, I think, that we've overcome.
Yeah. And how did you guys actually, you know, overcome those? Because there's that saying that I really believe in, which is, you know, fail forwards. And I personally can look at you guys and think, right, but if you hadn't done that, and if you hadn't had those challenges, and if you hadn't gotten excited and thought, we can go and invest in another deal straight away, you probably wouldn't have learned. And you would have had to learn at a later time. So the fact that you guys have done that already, you've learned that now, right? Now you can deal with other challenges instead, right? So how did you guys overcome those?
We didn't have a choice. So we probably got to... by the time we realised that we were a bit out of control, we had accumulated quite a lot of debt. Okay. So we had this debt growing, but our business was still cash flowing. So we didn't have a choice but to make sure that our business continues to cash flow, and that we try to grow the business in a sensible way. So we had honestly, it was literally like, we either go to work and pay the debt, or we make this business work. So we had to make the business work, and we did. We just literally, when you're put in that situation, either you sink and you drown, or you find a way up. And I feel like with us, we just fought our way up, fought our way through, and we managed to get to the other side. So that in itself was a massive, valuable lesson. I'm happy we went through that, because a lot of people go through that and their businesses just get liquidated and things like that. We didn't want that, so we literally fought for it. So
I think one good thing as well with our debt that we had on the business, the debt comes from obviously taking out loans because your credits increase and you can get a higher loan to go get 2 more deals, that type of thing, or like investor finance or whatever. But with the debt that we had, we not once in the however long we had the debt for, not once have we had to go into our pocket to clear it. Not once. Not once have we had sleepless nights because of the debt. Because of our strategy, we can see well in advance what what's forecasted to come in between 6 and 12 months. So, you know, we didn't ever literally have sleepless nights about it, if that makes sense. It was a comfortable way of our strategy allows us to comfortably manage debt, if that makes sense. It just meant at one point we had to all go back into work to sustain our own lives, but the business sustained itself, if that makes sense. So but that we definitely learned from that.
And you know what, debt isn't necessarily a bad thing. I know that I grew up with this misconception, I'm sure you guys did as well, again, you know, a bit of an African thing, I would say, that like getting yourself into debt is not good, unless like you're buying a house, for example. But if you use debt for investments, for things that are then going to bring you more money, I think that's a wise way of using debt to your advantage. And I think that's something that we could all learn. But obviously you guys have mastered a strategy of like how to manage the capital and cash that you guys have access to, which is fantastic. So talk to me now about your life through the pandemic. You know, what was it like at the start of the pandemic? What was it like, you know, throughout the pandemic, throughout like those first couple of months? And how you guys now, because obviously things in the UK have eased up so much in comparison to like Portugal, for example. So talk to me about, you know, this whole journey, starting with that initial stage that we all went into panic.
So at the start of the pandemic, when did it really hit us? March 2020, we didn't take it seriously. We just thought, you know, our business was in such a good place, probably the best place it's ever been. So we had no debt, literally everything was cash flow. We were 12 months booked in advance in all across our whole portfolio. We were planning like holidays, living our life. Literally, we were planning ahead like crazy because we were in a good position. And so we didn't take it seriously until, because just to go back, because our portfolio is based around service accommodation. So the type of people that would rent it would be holiday makers or business travelers. So when businesses stopped going into the office in London, then we started to see people cancelling bookings. People weren't booking, and so we started to see a decrease in that. And then when the travel industry stopped, then that's when we really felt it. That's when people were cancelling bookings, and they had the right to, because the COVID restriction just overrid any contract that you had in place. So we lost a lot of money. So we did lose a lot of money, and it just all kind of just tumbled. We kind of went into a little bit of a panic state because we didn't know what to do, we didn't know what to expect. But then we thought, it was in March, so we thought, you know what, let's just ride it through for the next few months. And then we thought in the summer it was going to pick up. Didn't happen. And then we were just watching the news, and everyone was predicting things, and we just waited and hoped every like month would go by, and it just never happened. And the business was just getting harder and harder to cover the rent that we had, with massive expenses to cover. So
and obviously you guys didn't have any kind of like help on that end. You guys still had to meet those bills, right? You still had to pay that rent, whilst people were cancelling bookings with you. You couldn't say, hey, I'm not going to pay that rent this month.
Exactly.
You still, what we eventually ended up doing when we started to sort of see that we couldn't keep guessing how the market was going to react in a few months, we started to rent out our properties on long-term lets. So currently all our properties are rented out on long-term lets. Some of them are coming to renewal actually in the next couple of months. And we are still looking to continue to rent those out until we feel like the market is in the place that we want it to be in. Because we're heavily reliant on the tourist market, more than the business travellers. It's not there yet in London. It's really not there yet. So we're not comfortable with going back in. We'd rather just break even, cover all rent, and make sure all bills are covered, as opposed to stressing over it.
Stressing for profit and each month. So we will definitely go back into the service accommodation industry next year. We feel like next year will be a good time. I think things are starting to open up now. Restrictions are starting to ease. So from next year, spring, we'll definitely look to go back into it properly. So
fingers crossed.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
You guys have done so well, because if anything, this pandemic has taught us that we have to be prepared for the worst. You know, 100%. We have to be positive, but we also need to have a plan B, and we need to be prepared. We need to ensure that, you know, like you said, that we're not, you know, just putting all our effort and investments into one place, but like spreading, right?
Definitely. More than ever, the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic, for us, to be honest, it's been a blessing. We haven't even though we've been affected with the rent-to-rent side of things, that we're not making money on it at the moment. We haven't lost our assets, which is a good thing. We've just decided to make a business decision to sort of just break even on them for the time being. And also we decided to go. We've opened 2 businesses in the lockdown as well.
It's fantastic.
But we had, and the thing is, lockdown had to happen for us to do that, to get into other industries, because we always said we want to do this, we want to do that, we need to do this, and we never had a time for it, because we're always focused on growing the rent business or the property business, and it had to happen. So we obviously this has given us time to focus on other things, and spread our eggs. So if this was to ever happen again, at least one of the 3 businesses will keep us afloat. And it has to be, you have to like that. The lockdown has literally forced our hand in that. I'm grateful for.
Well done, I think we got a bit complacent. Once you feel like, after the battle that we went through over the last 7 years, ups and downs, we were finally at a place before the lockdown started, probably for about 12 months before that, but we was in a really good place. So we kind of got complacent. We worked so hard, and now finally the business is just doing what it needs to do by itself. We don't even have to really look into it too much. So we were just we're getting comfortable. So the lockdown did come and kick us.
Yeah, it definitely did.
In the backside.
Yeah, literally.
So you guys touched on something interesting there. What other 2 businesses did you guys start throughout this pandemic?
So we got into e-commerce and events hire. So events equipment hire.
Amazing. Okay. So what made you guys decide? Because I think the pandemic for me has been an interesting period to reflect and, think about the businesses that are still needed throughout the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So what made you guys decide to start these 2, businesses? What did you see as an opportunity?
So with the e-commerce, we've always wanted to do that. So it was a chance. We saw, obviously, it was all over the news, like on Amazon, things were selling, going crazy. People going crazy with online shopping, if that makes sense, because you weren't able to go to the shop comfortably. Yeah. So that's why we got into e-commerce, because of that. And then with the events hire business, events equipment hire business, we started off with things that so a lot of people couldn't go out. They weren't able to do things outside of their homes, if that makes sense. So we started renting out hot tubs and just other equipments that people would want to rent out in home cinemas and stuff like that. And we were doing that in the West Midlands, and honestly, it went crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I'll do forever.
It sounds exciting.
it's something that got us going through lockdown, made us a decent amount of money. Now we've expanded that business to, I think, something that we probably are going to a bit more, which is tablescaping, which is for events. We're doing like
weddings, birthdays
and stuff like that. We work with a lady that does that, and yeah, we've just expanded that. So
but what's it called?
So tablescaping is when you
like table dressing,
like dress up.
Oh,
like,
cool.
venues and
Yeah.
events for like weddings and birthdays and stuff like that. So that's something we've started, and we're doing that mainly in the West Midlands with a few other business partners, and then the e-commerce stuff, which we're focusing on as well.
I love it. And probably in like another 8 years, you guys will be like, we started 3 more new businesses.
Probably.
That's the aim. Literally, after what's happened in the lockdown, it's definitely the aim. We're definitely trying to spread our eggs, and just we know how to run a business. We're just using those same skills in learning another industry and just going in there. So that's definitely the aim: to spread our eggs.
Brilliant. And now, like, what are your goals for the future? If we talk about, you know, the property side of things, you know, we're talking about you guys getting back into like your business rentals and your tourist rentals. But what are like your future goals? Are you looking to just keep property to the UK? Are you looking to expand? Talk to me about some of those ambitions that you guys have for the future.
So our future goals, we're definitely going to keep the rent-to-rent business running. We know how to do it with our eyes closed. There's no way we'll not build that one back up again. So we'll definitely keep that running and expand and grow in that business. Hopefully we can expand into some other countries around the world, but we need to look at that. We were looking into that before the lockdown, but with the whole pandemic, we kind of need to start our research again and see where people will travel to. So it's kind of starting the research again for that, but we'll definitely pick that up again next year. Property wise, our long-term goals is to get into property development, to become property developers. So we are just building the bricks for that, right? Laying each brick for that right now. We're just doing all our training that we need to go through, getting experience, managing some projects, just for the experience. But yeah, that's our long-term goal, to have the service accommodation business running on the side as cash flow, and then the property development business, which won't be a cash flow business. That's a bit different, as the bigger picture.
So for anyone who maybe, you know, doesn't fully understand, could you define what property development is, and then why it's not going to be a cash flow business? Because I think that will be really useful as well.
So yeah, property development is where you acquire a piece of land and then you build in the land. So the reason it's not a cash flowing business is because you only will make money at the end of the project. So when you've sold, if you built a block of flats and you've sold the block of flats on, or you're renting the block of flats. So it can take a year, 2 years to complete a project. So you have to wait until the end of the project to really see the money come back to you. But yeah, so that's why it's not a cash flowing business.
But it's something interesting to go into, because the return at the end can be quite substantial.
Will be really high. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The return at the end will be high. Yeah.
And also it depends on the strategy we go for. So if we're doing something for like a student's accommodation, that will eventually be cash flow. Because if you're keeping it on as rentals, then that would be cash flow. But if you're selling on, it won't be cash flow. It just depends on the project that comes to hand, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, awesome. So, you know, what would you guys say your top, I'm going to say 4 tips, because there are 2 of you, so I'm going to expect 2 tips each, for anyone who is looking to get started in, let's say, the rent-to-rent industry. And yeah, let's start with that. So I'll go Sasha first.
Oh, got me?
I know Sasha was going to go.
Sasha was ready. I might take her too. Be resilient. It's not easy. You will get knocked back numerous times. In fact, you'll probably get knocked back 100 times before you get that yes. But when you get that yes, it will just flow to you. Before you know it, doors are open. and it'll be worthwhile. So you have to be resilient. Have to. Do I say another one, or is Socha allowed?
You can let Socha go. So Socha, what's your one? And then you go back to Saturn.
I'd say get educated on rent to rent. Don't just do it without having the education behind you. I've seen people do it without education, come to us and say, oh, this property deal, how come it's not renting? And it's like, well, you didn't have the right education to even start this in the first place. So now you've got yourself a bad deal. That's not going to bring you any money. It's probably going to take from your pocket, if that makes sense. So definitely get the education. And whatever it is, nowadays it's not really free courses going about. Like, we were quite lucky. The strategy,
beg, guys, beg. That's the key. Beg for free.
Like the strategy was pretty much a fresh strategy when we started. Like, it was probably around for like a couple of years before we started. Now it's something that a lot of people are doing. Not to say that there's no room for others to jump on board, because there's always room. But yeah, you definitely should get education behind you, like some sort of education behind you.
And guys, by the way, I can see that like you've got questions coming in, so do keep your questions coming, because we will answer some of these questions. But I'm going to go back to Sacha now. So what's your second tip, Sacha?
So my second tip is, don't be afraid to partner up with someone. I feel for us, I feel one of the reasons we got so fast because we had a team. And when Socha's energy, for example, was low, mine was high. We also had a third team member, actually, Melissa, who's part of our business as well. And the three of us together, we just bounced off each other. There was times where I had no motivation because the knockbacks were just too much. But Socha had the motivation. So I feel like when you have a team of people around you, sometimes you will go further because you have people to hold you accountable, and you do have support. You need the support. No one else will understand what you're going through, because it is quite a niche thing. Not everyone does. Well, not a lot of people do rent to rent, and if they do start, not a lot of people carry continue through with it. So yeah, definitely try and partner up with someone if you feel like you're not confident to do it by yourself, because that will definitely get you far.
And just to add to that as well, we all had different skills, and we were all good at something that the other wasn't good at. So between the three of us, it doesn't have to be three people, it could be two, but between us, we just sort of balanced each other, and it worked. Do you know what I mean? So yes, never be a perfect partner.
So and be resilient. Get educated on it before you start. Work with others, have a team. And fourth one, Socha?
The fourth one, I'd say, you need to have the right mindset. And it's a positive mindset you need to have, and it interlinks with being resilient and stuff like that. But I think it's more than that, because I think for us, when we started, our mindset literally drove us to where we are today. If that makes sense. We've never ever had sort of the I can't mindset. It's always been I can, if that makes sense. And it took us, between getting educated and getting our first deal, it was so January, we opened up the company, February, November, December, we got our first deal, and that was constant knockbacks. We had absolutely no money. The way the money fell in our laps, like, honestly, it was law of attraction. Literally.
Amen.
Literally, it was because before we started, in fact, before we got kicked out of uni, suspended from uni in December, that September we started. That's when we came across the law of attraction, quantum physics, rich dad, poor dad, all them things, and that's when we started opening our eyes to it. And so the law of attraction for us was very strong, if that makes sense. We believed in it heavy, and we still do. And between when we done the course and got our first deal, we got 100 no's, and we were making phone calls without having the money in place. It was literally like, do you know what? We find the deal, we'll find the money. And Randy got 100. No, she got not 100. 1,500 on HMRC. A tax rebate.
Wow.
Randomly out of nowhere. And then we had a car accident like 3 years before, and they randomly called Sacha up, and she was the driver. They randomly called her up
So
and
on that.
we claimed on that, and that was $5 grand.
Yeah.
I do remember when that happened as well, when you obviously had that accident, but
Yeah,
$5 grand.
I never expected that.
We didn't expect that money. We were going on as if we'll find the money somewhere.
Yeah.
And
it came.
And between that period, that money came to us. And in November, we were sort of financially ready to get into a deal, if that makes sense. So yeah, just always that you have to have the I can mindset. You can't go into things and say, oh, I haven't got money, I can't do this. Oh, you know, I'm not good at this, I can't do this. I've seen people who train people. Sorry?
Right. It's how can I get this money? Not I don't have the money. Yeah. Right? Rich dad, poor dad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We trained a young guy who was doing I was training him up to make phone calls to agents to acquire some deals, and his first couple of phone calls were I was on the floor because it was like I've seen that property. And honestly, and by the time we were done on that day, he knew how to speak, and he acquired a deal that was worth over $100 grand. Literally, within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It was crazy.
He was resilient, right? Resilient.
Yeah.
You have to be.
You have to be. Yeah, exactly. And just the right mindset. So
and just to add to that as well, I feel in order to get the right mindset, sometimes I feel like there's a lot of people that don't like reading and stuff like that, but I feel you have to go into that. You have to read and listen to audiobooks that talk about that and that encourage that. It does get your mind in a right mindset, because it's not easy when you go out there if you haven't built yourself up for the challenges that you're going to face. Then it's easy for you to walk away. So I think it's important to pick up some books and read and just get it in you, just get it embedded in you before you go out there and face these challenges. So you're just ready for it. Yeah.
It's like that saying, like, failing to plan is planning to fail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Here. But then just to recap, so be resilient, educate yourselves before you start, have a team to help you, to support you, and then the final one is obviously to have the right mindset. So I love all of those. One thing that I wanted to touch on, I think is really key as well for anyone who, you know, doesn't really understand anything that you guys do and is like learning, is what do you define as, you know, getting a deal? When you guys said that you got your first deal, what do you guys define that as? Is it an agency saying, yes, you know, we will work with you? What is it?
Yeah, so it's an agency saying, yes, we'll work with you, and then a landlord saying, yes, happy to accept you. So the first person you need to face is the agent. Well, if you're going direct to agent, some people do go try and find landlords directly. We've never tried that route, so I find that's harder. It's just easier to go to an agent. So, but they will be your gatekeepers, and if you have an agent on board, and they manage to convince a landlord to have you on board, then that's what we mean by having your first deal. Basically, acquiring your first property, your first rent to rent.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks guys. I know we're like at 9:44, and I do want to give people time to like ask more questions and for us to ask their questions as well. I'm just trying to think if I have anything else that I want to ask. Yes. So, are you guys? You mentioned that like you trained a guy. Are you guys currently offering like any mentoring or training for anyone who is interested in doing what you guys have done? You guys, you touched on something as well a couple of minutes ago, which is like there's always space for other people to do this, right? I don't ever believe that helping someone else to come up is going to prevent you from being less successful. You know, we all lift each other up, we can all be really successful. So, you know, are you guys offering any of that mentoring and training to help others?
We're not at the moment. We were before the lockdown, but we're not at the moment, only because we can't predict what the industry that we would be teaching, we can't predict where that's going just right now. So we're not offering training at this moment, but we are, if anyone's interested, reach out to us as soon as we are in a position where we open back our training. We'll reach out to you and let you know. Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, so let's go back through some of these questions. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments right now. So, right, I'm just going to go through all of this. All right, so we touched on like where you guys did your property course. I think, would you guys be able to share like details? We don't have to do it now, but like afterwards, would you guys have the details of like where you did your property course? Is this something you guys happy to share? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see if he's still around, because that was eight years ago. But I'll double check and see if their course is still running.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Next one, property on other countries. So we did kind of touch on this, but if you guys did, you know, have to go and start your business, your property business in another country, you know, where would you guys go and why?
I think the thing with our strategy is, if I was to have to up and move to another country, wherever it is, I think it wouldn't be hard to start the rent. It works in a lot of countries, the majority of countries.
Yeah.
It works in, and we've looked at, at one point we were talking to people a lady from the Philippines, a man from Vegas, a man from Morocco. We were going to partner up with a few people, and it was literally random countries that we were looking at that work, if that makes sense. So I think it's just,
I think it works in most places.
In most places,
but you would have to tweak your strategy to fit that, well, wherever you're going. So, which means you have to do research in that area, make sure you know what works, and there's ways to do research and figure that all out. But you can't just go in there blindly and just put your money down and think it's going to work. You have to make sure you're doing the right research and try and talk to people in those areas as well. Reach out online, see if you can find someone who does it. Try and speak to them and get their advice. We would definitely do it abroad, 100%. But
I look forward to seeing you guys do that, because I think, you know, from where you guys are today and how old you guys are, like this is literally just the beginning for you guys. So, you know, I definitely can't wait to see where you guys go with this and all your other businesses and the new businesses that are going to come in the future as well. But I actually just remembered I had another question. And I'm going to keep going through the questions, don't worry guys. But if you are to think about contacts, you know, what kind of contacts would you say are key for this kind of business? You know, obviously we spoke about the fact that you guys are a team of 3, but there's the whole aspect of running a business, you know, having accountants, having people who understand the legal side of things. You know, what key roles do you feel are really important and have been really important for your success as well?
I'll say key roles that have literally been the key to our business running well are housekeeping, especially when you're in the hospitality industry and you're renting out to people that are coming on holiday. They don't want a piece of hair on the bed. They don't want to catch that on the bed. And it's having the right housekeeping. And we went through a lot of housekeepers, and we found we've got a great housekeeping team now, because they understand our vision and they understand what we need. And it took us years to get to this point. So housekeepers, trust me, good ones are hard to find. But when you find them, they're invaluable. So definitely housekeepers are, because at the end of the day, the housekeepers are the ones that are preparing the apartments for the guests. If the guests are not happy and they complain, they get a partial refund. They might even say, I don't want to stay here at all. And so really and truly, the housekeeper for this is key. For the service apartment strategy. And then
property managers,
because it gets to a point where you're going to want to outsource your business, to outsource certain tasks to certain people. So good property managers, housekeepers, and I had one in my head, it's gone. Oh, agents. So for me, agents, I mean, a lot of people go down the landlord strategy, looking for landlords themselves, but agents, for us, we had our first agent that got us our first deal back in November 2000 and whenever. He actually he actually took our business. We were doing the HMO strategy, so the house of multiple occupancy strategy. He took our business from 0 to 6K a month in 6 months.
Wow.
Because he kept growing deals our way. He literally kept, he like one of the deals, he called the owner while she was purchasing the property, and he said to her, he put me in loudspeaker. He said, "How much would you rent this property for?" And I told him the figure. I didn't know I was on loudspeaker, and she bought the property based on that, and she rented it on a long-term let. So, you know, he
took our business.
And it's having agent friends, you know, in your pocket that will help you take your business to another level.
Yeah,
brilliant. So I'm gonna try to recap all of this. Hold on. The one I remember the most is housekeepers.
Housekeepers. Yeah.
I just love the fact that you said having agent friends, right? Because it's also important to like think about the circle that you have. And I love that you guys have just mentioned that as well. Like they're the two that have really like stuck out to me: property managers, agents, housekeepers. Did I miss something?
Yeah. No, I think property managers and housekeepers come under one umbrella, and then you have agents. So yeah, agents will help you scale your business. Property managers and housekeepers will help your business run smoothly. So that's why you need the two of them.
Boom, got it. Okay, so is it easier because you guys work together? You guys are twins. Is it easier because you guys work together?
I wouldn't say it's easier.
Yeah, I think one thing is that we come from the same place, the same struggles, like the same.
So we have the same why and motivation.
The same why and the same motivation, yeah. So I think for us, our visions are aligned, so it is easier.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're partnering up with somebody else, you might start with the same vision in when you start the business, but their vision might change. Throughout the time, and then you become sort of the unit doesn't work. Misaligned. It doesn't work. So with us, we have one end goal, and it's always going to be. We've got at the end of the day, we want to sort of uplift our family at the end of the day. So that's our goal, if that makes sense. Whereas for some other people, their immediate family might not be their ultimate goal, and they might, for example, meet a partner, and now they've managed to, you know, the partner's got a bit of wealth, and they've managed to, you know, do you get what I'm saying? Like, their vision's now changed. Now they want more from the business or something else from the business that's not how it started. So I think definitely the fact that we come from the same place, have the exact same vision, have the exact same, pretty much similar life, like it does help.
But then Melissa hasn't got the same life as us, but we all had the same vision. So I feel as long as you find someone who has the same vision as you, then I think you can make it work. I think that's the right person to team up with. Don't team up with someone who hasn't got the same vision as you. You'll end up fighting down the road. Awesome.
But and I think when you talk about vision as well,
in terms of it's not that our journey was easier. I wouldn't say our journey was easier because of that. I'll just say in terms of where we took our business, it was easier because we had the same vision, but our journey was still tough.
Yeah. But it does facilitate it, because it's like you guys were talking, like when one of you was like demotivated one day, the other one was motivated because you had the same end goal, and you were both focused on get there. But it's quite natural for us human beings, like you're not going to be high all the time, right? And we need to come down sometimes to get back up. But if like if the other team member like is high when you're low, it just balances everything out. We won't say it's easier, but it definitely like contributed towards your success. So with that, we don't have any more questions unless anyone else has any further questions. And I would also just like to ask if you guys have any final like comments or anything that you would like to add.
Comments? I don't know. Just in general, I just feel like being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what it is that you do. Having your own business, it's hard work. And if you're going through a tough time right now, or if you're going through a great time right now, if you were one of those lucky people who actually profited through the pandemic and is in a good place right now, and the ones that are, even if you're not in a good place now, just keep going. You know, things change, and it's not always going to be bad, and you know, you just have to ride through it, and just stick to it. It's part of the game.
Definitely. And I think definitely one thing is, don't get attached to what you're doing. You should be attached with the goal, the end goal.
Yeah.
So if like the end goal is, you know,
you want to make X,
amount or whatever. If your industry right now isn't gonna make you that right now, or if the industry isn't working, or the business isn't working, whatever it is, don't be attached to that particular thing. Emotional attachment will make you lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money sometimes. So you just have to be ready to adapt with the market and switch it up if you have to. So as long as that goal is in place, you should be able to do that. But yeah, definitely emotionally attach yourself out of your business.
And don't be scared to be different. I feel like for us, a major thing in our journey is where we coming from an African household where, you know, the fact that we don't have degrees. My grandma till today
doesn't
like, I'm just like, oh my God, woman. I've managed to make my life actually work without a degree. So I don't actually need a degree. And don't be scared to come out of out of your comfort zone,
stigma,
out of those stigmas that you can only be successful if you do X, Y, and Z. Go out and find your own path and your own journey, and meet people that are like-minded. Sometimes you won't find that in your friendship circles or in your family. Your family's probably the worst place to find that at home with your parents.
Yeah.
So try and network with other people who are like-minded and going where you're going, because that's the only way you're really going to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid. Be fearless. Love this. I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much. I cannot wait, like I said. But I hope this has been valuable for everyone who has been on this live. Like Sasha and Socha said, they're not doing any mentoring or training right now, but please follow them if you're not already following them. You know, keep in tune with their page and make sure that you do reach out to them once they do start to offer their mentoring and courses. And I look forward to having another live with you guys sometime soon. We'll have to find like another topic to do a live.
Yeah, well, there's loads of topics. I'm sure we'll find one.
100%. But thank you so much, guys. Miss you guys loads and love you loads. And have a great rest of your evening.
Bye.
Ciao.